Good afternoon. Now we are continue from last section on calling the Lama from afar. So this it's written by Janggu Kuntur the Great. We call the first Kuntur Rinpoche, very well-known scholar and master in Tibetan Buddhism, and also Janggu Kuntur Rinpoche belongs to Karmakaju lineage, but he is very non-sectarian master. So he is one of the master who have the biggest collection of his teachings, written teachings, and also the teachings that he composed, but also the teachings that he collected together from all the traditions of Tibetan Buddhism. So he was a scholar and also great realized master that accepted by all the lineages in Tibetan Buddhism. He was, I think it's the time, it's not one of the early ones, it's a couple hundred years ago, even less. I don't remember exactly the time when he came. So however, also all the teachings that he taught are very, very practiced and studied, respected by many, many great masters. But this, especially the calling the Lama from afar, become a very popular prayer. This is not because of the author, but also this has so much meaning, because if you really read carefully, particularly the second part of the this calling Lama, it has it includes every aspect of Buddha's teaching, and also in a very easy way to understand, and also it's very practical. It's very easy to apply for ourselves. And so also it points lots of important things that we should accept, and we should also the important things that we should avoid as a practitioner. So that's why this is one of very well-known teaching or prayer. Of course, there are many calling lamas in Tibetan Buddhism, composed by many great masters, but this is the most common and practiced by the monastic community, and also the ordinary practitioners, among the ordinary practitioners as well. So now we continue from the last time where I stopped. And so it's read Rangju member Randi Mato, but Chubuzun Jume Konaji, Yumugila, Shojiko, Gero Yan Chile, Jijan Yan Che, Lamachina Tujino, Ranjo Randa Thomas Jilo. So actually, there are a couple different translations. They are slightly different, but sometimes the different translations lead to different understanding. So it's a little complicated. But now today I'm going to read a different translation than what you have. So the page number. So page number is page number 26. I'm sorry, 26. The second line, the last verse of the second line. So can you see? So in that book you have one translation. I don't know who translated this one, but I have another translation that is translated by Rangjung Yishi. So I'm going to read this, the different translation, and you look at the translation in that book. So then you will probably, just by reading, understand what it really means. So first one, it says, not recognizing my own faults in the guise of a practitioner, I engage in all sort of non-dharmic endeavors with my pattern of disturbing emotions and unvirtuous behavior. All the virtuous thoughts I form are thwarted time and time again. Guru, watch over me, sweetly look upon me with a compassion, bless me that I may see my own faults. So you probably see some difference in the translation, right? And the meaning could be, different too. But so here it's saying that the pointing out, the recognizing the one's own faults. Not only actually the Dhamma practice, but in a society, in our daily life, the one of the problem or trouble that makes our life so difficult and uneasy is due to not recognizing one's own faults and mistakes. So in the universe, the almost every problem or every competition or every fighting, war, and all those are coming from not recognizing one's own faults and mistakes. So that's very difficult because of the ego clinging that we have, that actually always covered to see our own faults and mistakes, but always look for others' faults, So all others' faults and mistakes, so we always wanted to point others' faults, so that becomes a problem, that creates huge problem. So that's why, of course, in the Dharma practice, and every negative actions that we do by our body, speech, mind, is actually arising from not knowing, the ones not recognizing, not realizing our own faults and mistakes. So our anger, hatred, and jealousy, and all those are coming from not recognizing our own. So that's why, the reason why we are committing all these crimes and all these negative actions is because not knowing how bad they are, which means that not knowing your faults and mistakes. So now, because of not knowing one's own faults and mistakes, then even the practitioners, even though they act like, they talk, they seemingly look like very great practitioners, but in the reality they are, engaging with all the negativities, negative actions that lead to lower realms, to suffering, and to problem. So that's why it says engage in all sort of non-dharmic endeavors. So because of not knowing one's own faults, so we are so much into these negative emotions and negative actions. If we are able to recognize one's own faults and mistakes, then we always have awareness. We can apply these awareness and mindfulness to avoid, to resist getting involved into these negative emotions. So once we are not recognizing our own faults and mistakes, then even though we try to have virtues taught in a certain situation, certain point, we do try all the time actually try to have a better thought and a virtues thought, but then it constantly cut it again and again because of not knowing one's own faults and mistakes. So therefore we request the Guru to bestow a blessing that we recognize, we would be able to recognize one's own faults and mistakes. So the next part is talking about the impermanent, and again the impermanent is always mentioned in Buddha's teaching in every level of the teaching. Either it's Theravadan or Mahayana or Vajrayana or whatever practice, discussing the impermanent is always necessary. A lot of the teaching says it from the beginning, the middle, and the end. Then the understanding the impermanent is always very important, because if we don't understand the impermanent, then we have no idea of ending this life, changing what we have. So if that doesn't happen, we won't have enthusiasm or encouragement to practice the Dharma, because mainly the practice of the Dharma is not only for now. I mean, it helps for our present life, but also mainly for our next lives, to achieve enlightenment, to free from suffering and to free from samsara. So for that, the impermanent is always necessary. So in the translation, and I come close to death with each passing day, and while my mind grows wilder day by day, though I rely on a guru, my devotion is decline, as are my affection and pure perception towards Dharma siblings. Guru, watch over me sweetly, look upon me with a compassion, bless me that I may tame this savage mind. So the impermanent, we do know that nobody is going to live forever, and everybody knows that one day we're going to die, no matter what. And although we don't know what will be the cause for our death, but one way or another we know that we are going to die. And everybody knows. But do we keep that in our mind and practice the Dharma, or do preparation for that, do something that helps for the death, or thinking about after death? Because the reason why we don't have all those things is because we don't have actually the real understanding of impermanent. You know, we may think one day we die, but who cares? Everybody dies. Not only me. If I really care if it's something that is going to happen only to me, but that's not the case. So everybody went through this, everybody going through this, will go through this, so who cares? You know, that kind of idea we have in our mind. But then when we really think about, because everybody is going through that, everybody will go through that, have gone through this, would it help for my, actual reality? When it really comes to me, if you are only going through this, or everybody else is going through, it's the same. But for you, everybody else going is not helping you, right? So therefore, you have to think about your, past and after the death. So, every day is getting closer and closer to the death, and every day in our body, mind, the mind, it doesn't really die, but our physical body is slowly, shrinks day by day. Although we rely on gurus and receive teachings and then go to the temples and chant, reciting mantras and do practices, and we do all kind of things. But then do we really get genuine devotion in our mind? So not just, traditionally just going to the temple, receiving teachings and empowerment. If we don't really have a deep understanding in our mind that everything is subject to change, going to, end. So therefore my life has an end. So after this, then I have to follow the karmic cause and conditions. So therefore, I really should focus on these, to practice the Dharma that only helps for after the death. But a lot of us, it doesn't happen, even though we do practice, but the real, genuine devotion, it's hard to arise. A lot of times our devotion is very conditional. When everything is around us is fine, perfect, easy for us to arise our devotion. But then when faced to a difficult situation, it's hard to apply that genuine devotion. So genuine devotion really happens when we really understand impermanent. So also as a practitioners, and it says that as are my affections and pure perception towards the Dharma siblings. As a Vajrayana practitioner, not only the respect for the gurus and teachers, and also your Dharma siblings, Dharma brothers and Dharma sisters, we have to treat them equally and respectfully. We have to, rejoice for whatever good deeds that they are having, and also we have to have a compassion when they're going through difficulties and going through sufferings. But also it is hard for us when we don't have that genuine understanding of impermanence. So therefore, Guru, look over me upon with your compassion and bless me that I may tame this savage mind. So when we don't have genuine understanding of impermanent, we don't have a genuine respect for the Dharma practitioners, we don't have a genuine devotion to Guru, so therefore our mind is wild. So now we have to, in order to understand the true meaning of impermanent, we have to tame our mind. So now we're requesting Guru to bestow blessing so that we can tame our mind. So next is, though I practiced refuge, bodhicitta and supplications, no devotion or compassion has grown in the depth of my heart. My Dharma practice and virtuous deeds are mere lip service. I go through the motions and am left untouched. Guru, watch over me, certainly look upon me with a compassion. Bless me, that whatever I do may become Dharma. It's again like we do go to temples and do prayers and see gurus and receive oral transmissions and empowerment, and we read refuge prayers and we do take refuge vows. We do bodhicitta vows, bodhicitta, and we do practice, chant supplications. But we have to understand that the reason why we do this, when we take a refuge and when we practice bodhicitta and we read the supplications, our aim is it changes our mind, developed our compassion, bodhicitta, developed our understanding, our refuge, So we do say that, from now until reach enlightenment, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, for the benefit of all sentient beings. When you read that line, it includes actually refuge and bodhicitta. The first part, when you say I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, it's a refuge part. Because you're accepting from now till reaching enlightenment, the Buddha is your teacher, Dharma is the path, and Sangha is your companion of a practice. So that's the refugee part. And then second part, for the benefit of all sentient beings, is actually bodhicitta. So these two aspects of the practice, refuge and bodhicitta, makes you Mahayana practitioner. It's the great vehicle. But a lot of times, even though we chant so many prayers, like days and days, months and months, still we don't really think that Buddha is our ultimate refuge. And Dharma is our ultimate path to the enlightenment, and then Sangha is the companion. So maybe while we are reading, we do contemplate on this and visualize those things. But do we have that kind of understanding and all the time, So we don't. So Mugu Nyingi, like devotion to the Guru and a compassion has to arise inside. So once you have actually genuine devotion to the Gurus, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and also genuine bodhicitta, then no matter where we go and what we do, we always have that understanding in our mind. So that's where actually we become genuine practitioner. But until that happens, doesn't matter whether you are a monk wearing robes, as long as if you are not changing inside your mind, not developing compassion and a refuge, you're not a great practitioner. You're not become genuine practitioner. This is Sept18. So then the chantings and the prayers that we do only becomes lip service. So therefore we request to Guru to bless that whatever we do becomes Dharma practice. And particularly things that we do and we think Dharma practice. You know, it should be at least that Dharma practice. But of course, if you are a great practitioner, then no matter, whatever we do becomes Dharma practitioner. Even you're walking, even you're eating, even you're sleeping, everything can be Dharma practice, you know. So every action, every movement we can take as a path of Dharma practice, Dharma practice. But we cannot do that at this moment. But at least when we do, you know, chant prayers, supplications. So those actions that we, you know, encounter should be genuine Dharma practice from the beginning till end. Genuine motivation and genuine the genuine understanding of the meaning and genuine dedication at the conclusion. So the refuge, and the next one is it's a bodhicitta. So next one is the actual bodhicitta practice. So when we read Bodhisattva Chaya Avatara by Shantideva, so it has a different 7 steps of how you practice the bodhicitta, and then how you become bodhisattva, you know. So when we practice the bodhicitta, of course we have to think about the sentient beings. So that's you know, the Shantideva's tradition, which actually practiced it and taught by Lord Atisha. There are 7 steps. Understanding every sentient beings are your mother. And while they are your mother, they are kind, you know, and then the paying back. So all those 7 steps in bodhicitta practice. So here it says, I'll read the translation. All suffering comes from wanting happiness to oneself, while Buddhahood is reached by wishing to be of help. So it said, yet when forming this supreme resolve, still I mix in my selfish aims. Forget about helping others, I actually harm them along the way. Please bless me to be able to put myself in others' place. I'm reading it's a different translation, but you know, this book have the Tibetan, and the English translation is slightly different. So when we practice the bodhicitta, first, of course, we have to practice compassion and a loving kindness. So that will bring us to understand every sentient being equally same, and every sentient being have the same potential. Every sentient being equally want to have happiness, and nobody want to have a suffering. Then eventually, of course, when you become a bodhisattva, you have to be able to, you know, change. First, of course, you have to be able to put others in your space, you know, be yourself at others' space. So that's in Tibetan we have got Dagyin Nyamba, and then Dagyin Jeva. Nyamba means being able to practice compassion to yourself and others equally. Means that you and other sentient beings all understand same. Whatever you want, every sentient being want that. Whatever you don't want, every sentient being don't want it. So based on that understanding, you practice the compassion. You work to achieve what every sentient being want and what every sentient being need, and work on what every sentient being need to free from free from all this suffering as much as you want. So here, every suffering in this samsara, it's coming from, how did it translate? Wanting happiness for oneself. And a liberation or enlightenment, or every achievement of the practice of the Dharma coming from benefiting others, helping others. So that means if you are somebody who really wanted to achieve enlightenment, become Buddha, become Bodhisattva, become Arhat, just fulfilling your own wishes, just making yourself happy will not lead you there. So the only way to achieve enlightenment and bodhicitta is benefiting other sentient beings. So that's why Buddha always mentioned, and all these great masters always mention how important the practice of compassion and loving kindness. Even though we cannot practice physically, go and help other sentient beings and one by one, but even we are generating that the pure intention from our heart, it's generate great merit, great virtues. So even though enlightenment and result of every practice has to come from benefiting others, and all the suffering of samsara are coming from making just oneself happy, or wanting, fulfilling one's own, wishes. But still, even though we know all these things, but still, even during when we are trying to generate, genuine motivation, genuine bodhicitta, still our insight in deep in our heart, always keeping or thinking or having that idea of, wanting yourself to be happy. So we have to get rid of that in order to be a genuine practitioner, genuine Dharma practitioner. So therefore requesting Guru to bestow blessing so that we will, have a genuine compassion and loving kindness from in our heart, so that we can practice the compassion equally to all sentient beings without condition. Sometimes when we sit down and think about all sentient beings, if everything is fine, it's easy, seems easy to practice the compassion. But then when you are in a different situation, for example, if you have a problem with some other people and when you wanted to include that into your compassion, it's not easy. But to be able to practice genuine bodhicitta or compassion, we have to include, our loved ones, our enemy, and also the people that are neutral, not being enemy, not being, loved ones. So that is equanimity, compassion, practice of compassion. Until that happens, our compassion becomes conditional compassion. If you only have a compassion towards yourself, your family, your friends, your loved ones, then it's more like a desire or attachment rather than compassion, So not only that, actually, so when we act, practice, but if we don't understand the genuine meaning of the compassion and loving kindness, instead of benefiting, helping other sentient beings, actually a lot of times we are harming other sentient beings, directly, indirectly. So we request the Guru to not only to be able to practice compassion and loving kindness, but to change. You know, to put myself in others' place. Sanjingun Lama Merizo, Damsub the Macading language around them, Majonsen each year comes a journalism of the Lamachino to Zik. Mugutin in Paris in yellow. The next one is, though the Guru is a Buddha in person, I see him as a simple human and constantly forget his kindness and bestowing profound instructions. Disappoint whenever my wishes are not met. I am clouded by wrong view, doubting his deeds and ways. Guru, watch over me, sweetly look upon me with the compassion and bless me, that unfailing devotion may grow. So again, the devotion, especially the Vajrayana practice, as I mentioned last time, the devotion is very important because, you know, so all the teachings that we receive from the Guru, although it coming from the Lord Buddha taught 84,000 teachings. But if we don't have the Guru, there's no way for us really receive this teaching. So therefore, the Guru is very important at first place. And secondly, the Vajrayana practice. If you see your Guru as a Buddha, you receive a blessing of a Buddha. If you see your Guru as a Bodhisattva, you receive blessing as a Bodhisattva. If you see your Guru as an ordinary person, and you receive blessing of ordinary master, ordinary person. So that's why it always depends on us how much devotion that we can develop. You know, so those who have you know, perfect devotion, they can achieve enlightenment in a very short period of time. You know, during the Buddha, and when we read the Buddha's life story, in even few seconds, in a few hours, in a few days, there's so many disciples achieve, you know, arhats, bodhisattvas, because of their, you know, devotion, their genuine devotion. Once we have a devotion, easily, you know, receive the blessing realization. So it says, even though the actual the Guru's realization, Guru's understanding as equal to enlightened being, but we see and we look at our Guru as an ordinary being. We treat like ordinary being. So although we receive so much from your Guru, we won't be able to value his precious teachings because we only see Guru, ordinary human being. You know, if we see our Guru as a Buddha, so we value Guru's teaching as a Buddha's teaching. So that's why no matter how many times we receive teachings, when we don't have a genuine devotion, constantly forget the devotion, faith. It also says, when our devotion is very conditional, not genuine, then when Guru do or say something that we like and we want, our devotion increases. But when Guru does something or says something that we don't like, then our devotion decreases. So that means we don't have a genuine devotion. To be able to be good Vajrayana practitioner, we have to have a genuine devotion, not a conditional devotion that always can change due to small circumstance, due to small, instance. Mugutimi Parasangelops. Now we request Guru to bless, to be able to, have a genuine devotion or grow our devotion. So next one is Rangsem Sanji in Jamoma, Hinamto Chuku in the Tomato, Majunuma in Joma, around Nero in Yima, Lamatino to Rare Rasa Torsingle. So here is talking about our true nature. So he's talking, it's talking about what is actually our true nature. Our true nature is the Buddha. All the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas always say that when you achieve enlightenment, that your realization is not coming from somewhere else. Your realization is you're just recognizing your own true nature. So also Lord Milarepa says, when you understand the nature of your mind, that is enlightened. So when you don't understand your nature of mind, that is samsara. Like the inner consciousness that we have when we don't realize or recognize the nature, this is how we are wandering in samsara. When we recognize that nature, that is the self-wisdom, self-arising wisdom. So that is the enlightenment. So that's why a lot of times when we do practice, we think that we have achieve enlightenment, means we become something else. We are ordinary sentient being, but when we practice, we become Bodhisattva, we become Buddha. Basically, we think that changing something, but no, it is not really. That's the case. It says we have all the potential, all the essence and nature of enlightenment, but we just have to work hard to recognize, to realize. Though my mind is Buddha, do not know it. Yeah, so our mind, the ordinary mind is not talking about. Our nature of our mind is the Buddha. The reason why we don't recognize our true nature as the Buddha is because we have all these afflicted emotions that are completely obscure the nature. So now we have to develop, our wisdom to see that nature. So although our nature is a Buddha, do we not recognize it? Namto Chuko, our thoughts are Dharmakaya, but it says although thoughts are Dharmakaya, we do not realize it. Dharmakaya and Buddha are same, right? So Buddha has a Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. So the reason why it says that our thoughts are Dharmakaya is because all our thoughts are coming from mind, and they're going nowhere other than going back to mind. So our mind is a Buddha, mind is Dharmakaya. So basically, the manifestation of our mind is a thought. So therefore, it is the Dharmakaya. So mind and thoughts are not different. It's like it always says when there's huge waves on the ocean. The waves are coming from the ocean and going back to the ocean. The both nature is the same. The waves nature is water, ocean's nature is water, coming from the ocean, going back to ocean. So similarly, our mind and thoughts are just like that. The thoughts are arising from the mind and going back to mind. That's also something that we have to understand. So a lot of times that we think that thoughts, especially when we have a negative thought, that is completely different from our pure mind, luminous mind, and separate thing that we have to abandon and we have to avoid. I think that's not the case. It doesn't matter whether it's a positive thought or negative thoughts, it's all coming from the mind. It also, we are seeing a different positive and negative, it's because of not understanding the nature of the thought, nature of the mind. Although it's in this translation says, although the simplicity is a nature, I cannot maintain it. So, when we do meditation, we have to sit, we have to rest. When we meditate, we do not have to apply all kind of method. The fundamental meditation is just to rest on an ordinary mind, without control, without fabrication, without changing. So that is the genuine mind, right? Because of not being able to maintain that ordinary mind set, so then all these problems arises. Although letting to be is the true way, do not trust it. So again, when we talk about our true nature is nothing different from our ordinary mind. But for us, we can't really trust or we can't believe that. We think the true nature must be something different. That is coming from your meditation, coming from your realization, coming from your guru's blessing, We expect something completely change it. So that's not the case. Just letting it be is the true nature. Bless me that self-awareness we liberate within ourselves. So that's why to achieve enlightenment just can arise from ourselves by being able to apply this genuine method and antidote to our practice. So next one is Yungi Chiwa Hing the Jima Top Pingitam to Doman Leninde Dingy Lende Landor Sojimi Gungi Hima the Yungi Jalamajina to Yimi Tembe Simmer Singelo. Though death is certain to come, and I'm unable to take this to heart. Though the sacred Dharma is certain to help, I'm unable to practice as I should. Though causality is certainly true, I do not choose my action accordingly. Though mindfulness is certainly needed, I disregard it and give in destruction. Guru, watch over me sweetly, look upon me with compassion, bless me that I may maintain undistracted mindfulness. So again, the mindfulness, concentration, samadhi, or meditation, everything is meditation. So mindfulness is always very important for the practitioners. So without mindfulness, we won't understand that death is a certainty. It come to us. With mindfulness, we will have a proper understanding of impermanence. So therefore, we have always in mind that death is a certainty. It will come to me. So therefore, it's a time to practice, to prepare when it comes. So, when the death is a certainty, what is that? The thing that I can do that will help when it comes is the Dharma. Dharma will definitely help. Because of the Dharma practice in the past, last over 20,000 years, all those Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and great practitioners achieve enlightenment by this Dharma practice. So therefore, if we practice it, we will achieve enlightenment, we will achieve Bodhisattva, we will be free from suffering in samsara. But until now, lack of understanding, so we haven't been able to manage to practice the Dharma. So the karmic causality and the karmic cause and effect, it's certainly true, we cannot avoid it. But we are not being able to practice accordingly. So which means we know that every negative action that we encounter will produce suffering for us, for this life and also for next life, and then eventually lead us to the samsara and lower realms. We know the Dharma practice will help us. If we do Dharma practice now, we will have a better life for the future. We will have a next better reborn, and we become bodhisattvas, we become enlightenment. Yet we're not being able to practice accordingly. So we know that mindfulness is very important, but we're always distracted. Our mind is always distracted. Our mind is always, going after external, appearances. Not being able to focus on our mind, on our concentration and meditation, but our mind is always on external appearances, through our five senses. As we always say, sense of eye, sense of ear, sense of nose, sense of taste, which are connected to the external five objects. So that actually playing our mind. When those objects, for example, when we see a beautiful phone image or outside, that automatically increase your desire. If there is ugly image outside, that automatically increase your hatred or anger. And then similarly, sound, smell, taste, those non-existent external appearances are actually playing our mind. So in order to free from that, in order to prevent from that, we have to have a mindfulness, undistracted, distracted mindfulness, yes. So now, Guru, watch over me sweetly, look upon me with compassion, bless me that I may maintain undistracted mindfulness. Next one said, due to past misdeed, I was born in the Dark Age, and my past actions are now all causes for suffering. In keeping bad company, I am overshadowed by negative deeds and sidetracked from virtue by meaningless chatter. Guru, watch over me sweetly look upon me with compassion, bless me to be perseverant in the Dharma. So it says, due to our past misdeed. You know, and this, dark age thing is, nowadays considered as a Tunyingma, we call it in Tibetan, Dark Age. So which means that, less Dharma practice, people have a more negative emotions. So, when people are not being able to understand the reality, emptiness, then what happens is everything is depend on external material, So when this external material increases, and our negative emotions increases, because all the condition of negative emotions are increasing. And during that time, it's hard to practice the Dharma, hard to receive genuine teachings, hard to see great practitioners. So that's why they consider as a dark age. So the reason why we're born there is because we, have not enough positive virtues in our past time and our past life. Due to our negative actions, we're born in this, dark age. So it says, my past actions are now all cause for suffering. We are in samsara. We are not in Buddhahood. We are not bodhisattvas. So therefore we do have a lot of suffering. Whether we realize that we are experiencing suffering or not, but we are. We have a suffering of suffering. We have a suffering of change. We have a suffering of all pervasive. And all those are actually coming from the negative action that we have done in the past. All these sufferings are coming from negative actions that we have, accumulated in our past time. And bad company, keeping bad company overshadowed by negative deeds. As a Dharma practitioner, it is important to have a friend that is Dharma practitioner, because we as ordinary sentient beings, we are easy to influence by other people. If you always, be with the people who are so much involved in negative thought, negative actions, slowly we are also influenced by those. But if you are being with the people who have understanding the Dharma and practice the Dharma, have virtues, ideas, intentions, that also slowly influence you into that direction, Dharma practice. So then also it says we waste our time in a meaningless chatter, talking, a lot of times we do that. Well, it's not something that only we do, but it's nature of samsara, As long as if you're in a samsara, you're not perfect, you're not Buddha, you're not Bodhisattva. We do have all these things. But what these teachings help us is to help us to realize, to give us a hint that all those unnecessary things that we are doing, we should we cannot completely, abandon. At least we should try to reduce, understanding the benefit of reducing, and faults and problems of not, purifying and not reducing them. So that's why we have to read over and over, because our mind has been with these negative emotions for so many times, so many lifetimes. It's hard to change it. But by applying those methods, reminding with those teachings, slowly has to change it. So that as a practitioner, our aim is not the number, how many times you have to recite this and that mantra, and how many times you did the retreat, how many times you've been to a temple, how many times you did a prostration. But our aim is, by doing all this, have they really changed it? Our mind, insight, our habit, our behavior, our motivation, way of our thinking, Have they really reduced our anger, hatred, jealousy, attachment? Have they increased our compassion, loving kindness, forgiveness, understanding, and all those? Children, bless me to be perseverance in the Dharma. So Dharma practice is not easy, because Dharma practice is not something that you can do in one day, 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year. We have to continue for month after month, year after year. So therefore, it is not easy. So that's why we need a lot of hard work, diligent, determination, lots of commitment. So therefore, we request Guru's blessing so that we have a genuine, diligent in our mind to the practice of Dharma. The next one is Tambo Sanju Chula Mebala Tamandu Korang and Sunja Tabuloga Mugis Tending Mogo Dana and Lama Jinatunya Tamjin Tarchim Barachinjelobs. In the beginning, all my thoughts were of Dharma. In the end, all I do is a cause for samsara and the lower realms. The cup of liberation is how do we read this? Ravaged by the frost of non-virtue. As like rust, we go against our final aim. A guru, watch over me, sweetly look upon me with compassion, and bless me that I follow through the sacred Dharma. So that happens in a lot of places. And the first people come to, Dharma community, and they see the values, and they have renunciation, temporary renunciation, they have a devotion, temporary devotion, and wanted to dedicate whole life to the Dharma practice. But then slowly that changes. And during that, because it's not so easy, as I mentioned, it's not a 1 day or 1 week or 1 month thing. We have to continue year after year, month after month, so things can change it. Everything is subject to change. So that's one of the important aspect of Buddha's teaching. Everything is subject to change. We have to expect to change, but we always hope to change into better way instead of changing into worse way. But that doesn't always necessarily happen. A lot of times it changes into worse ways. A lot of times people give up everything, all life, and go to Dharma. And then they couldn't complete, then they come back, have nothing, that happens too. And not only that, nothing for this lifetime, but then things that they have done during the path actually accumulate so much negative karma and harming others directly, indirectly. Because in Dharma practice, we don't careful, or we don't careful with our intention when we do Dharma practice, that there are lots of pride involved, competition involved, all these like 8 worldly activities, fame, power, position, everything happens there too. If your Dharma practice goes into that, then it's nothing but cause and condition for the lower realms, for suffering, for samsara. The Dharma practice is not what you see in the image. The Dharma practice is inside, in your mind. Basically, we always have to look inside our mind and see you have really changed it. All those time that we spent in the so-called practice have really changed our mind. Have they increased our compassion, loving kindness? Have they, decreased our ignorance, our hatred, our jealousy, and so on? So a lot of times it happens. People start with wanting to be genuine practitioner, dedicate everything for Dharma practice, but end up completely opposite direction. So it says the crop of liberation is ravaged by the frost of non-virtues. When you first have this genuine motivation, pure, you see everything is pure, nice, genuine, but then due to the negative emotions, all those, the pure, genuine seed that we have destroyed. As like we go against the final aim. Now your final aim is completely changed. Your final aim was to practice, to dedicate whole lifetime to practice Dharma, to become Bodhisattva, to benefit other sentient beings, to become Buddha, but at the end completely become opposite. That happens. So these are something that we have to always try to aware, try to keep in our mind. Bless me that I follow through with the sacred Dharma. So it means that we wanted to complete, when we start with the Dharma practice, we wanted to complete with the Dharma practice. Bless me. The next one is Lama parchimi person drop to the Jimmy Namdo was Nimboranto to Jimmy Nero and Javas in Jello. Bless me that this hurried disentiment may be felt from the heart. So the now next one is requesting Guru to bless, to renounce, to be able to renounce the samsara. Because in samsaric beings think that samsara is a pleasure. It has a happiness. But when the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas look at the samsaric beings, they have nothing but suffering. They describe the suffering of change, suffering, and suffering of all pervasive. So that in order to do Dharma practice, the first thing we have to understand is that samsara is full of suffering, and we wanted to get out of samsara. So that's why we have to have a renunciation from the samsara. The second one is understanding the impermanent, So when we don't understand impermanent, although we know that we are going to die and everything is subject to change, but then we have so much delays. Even though you understand the Dharma practice is necessary, death is a certainty, the Dharma practice is the only thing that can help us when we are die to be reborn as a better life. But we have that kind of, delays. Maybe I'll do tomorrow, maybe I'll do next week, maybe I'll do next month, and then time is gone. Time doesn't wait anything. So momentarily change, goes. Time never returns. So that's why requesting Guru to bless me that may I take the imminence of a death to heart. So that's why lots of these great practitioners of Kadampa, when they understand the genuine impermanent, they have no plan for tomorrow. They have no plan for tonight, They always practice the Dharma because the death can come any moment, any time, any day. So I don't want to waste my time to making plan for tomorrow. I may die tonight, I may not survive for next day or next month. So this is how they practice. If you read story of those great Kadampa masters like Langri Thangpa and also Potoba, lots of interesting stories how they really practice with their impermanent, their simplicity, their simple life. Very inspiring. Bless me that I may take this. Bless me that I curtail my plan with no time to waste. Bless me that I may take this with a dead heart. So again, the karma is we always have a hard time to understand the karma. So it's easy to say, oh, that's my karma, And we have a thing, oh, that's my fate. Fate, Whatever I have to do, I have to go through, it's my fate. I cannot do anything. It's my karma. But the karma, it's cause and result, cause and effect. We have made our karma in the past. Because we made our karma what we have now. And what we're doing now is the karmic cause for what we're going to have in the future. So that's the key understanding of Buddha's teaching, And a lot of other religions believe that everything that exists is created by external God, who have a power to create everything. World, beings, and everything. But Buddha described differently, and he said, there's no creator, there's no external creator that creates everything. But there is a karma. Every individual have their own karma that creates what we have. There's karma that is commonly created, karma individually created. So that's why everybody have a different, life, different, mind, different desire. That's because of your karma. Whatever karmic cause you have created, you have the result. and that karmic cause cannot share with anybody. Everybody create its own karma. So the karma has, of course, it's many different levels. We have meaning that the first one is instant karmic causality, which means if you do something, the result will happen right away. For example, if you eat poison, you will die right away. If you beat somebody and that person will beat you back, you know. As small, like if you smile to somebody, the person will smile you back. And then of course it can go deeper and deeper. The life, how does the consciousness work? The past life and the future life, those are much more profound karma. But basically karma means cause and effect. If you do something good, you will have good result. If you do something bad, that will have a bad result. So that's why it says what we have is a result of what we have done in the past. What we're doing now is a cause for what we're gonna get in the future. Basically that is very straightforward explanation for the karma. So we have to believe that deeply. I mean, you know, Lama So next one is the path. Bless me, the no obstacles arising on path. You know, as I mentioned earlier, the Dharma practice is a long journey, so it can have any obstacles, you know. It can have physical obstacles, it can have external obstacles, it can have, you know, obstacles from our spirit and so on. A lot of things can happen, but we are requesting Guru, you know, not arising any obstacles for the Dharma practice. In order to achieve enlightenment, of course, the diligent effort and hard work that we mentioned earlier, it's very, very important. So a lot of times people can't continue and they give up. So therefore we could request Guru to bestow us blessings so that we can continue, we can complete what we start. So this one is actually the bless me that I take negative conditions into the path. It's more like in Vajrayana practice, you know, taking the difficulty as a path. So we do have negative conditions arises. You know, those negative emotions are negative conditions too. But for Dharma practice, instead of avoiding them, instead of running away from them, and the great masters can able to take them as a condition to their practice, as a part of their practice. For example, if you are sick, you know, and if you're physically sick, that is one of the biggest obstacles, because if you're not well physically, you cannot do any practice. But when you take that as a path, means what the great masters do is to say or think that this sickness, this pain that I'm going through will replace every sentient being's sickness and unwealth by this my sickness. So if you have that kind of intention and idea, then your encouragement, your determination developed, And then now you think it's not obstacle anymore, but now you think it's a practice, you know. You're really feeling your genuine compassion practice. So similarly, if you have, you know, problem of a poverty, and again you can think that every sentient being in this world who are going through the same problem with no food, no clothing, no shelter, you know, this, the very moment that I am experiencing will replace everyone's problem. So that means you are taking the path, the negative condition as a path. Of course, the bless me that I may be steadfast in applying the remedies. So, you know, every negative emotions, I mean, every negative aspect has its own antidote or remedy. But a lot of times, the actual negative is become more powerful than the antidote, remedy, so that we won't be able to apply genuine, I mean, right antidote to right negative. So for example, when we have laziness, you know, we have to apply diligence. And when we have anger, you know, we have to apply compassion. Those are each negative have its own sort of antidote or remedy to destroy, to reduce. But negative is if the negative is more powerful, then instead of destroying or reducing them, it's overpowering the antidote itself, then it becomes a big obstacle for our practice. So that's why requesting Guru to bestow blessing me that I may be steadfast, apply my remedies. Bless me that the genuine devotion may arise. You know, genuine, the reason why it says genuine devotion, whether you have a genuine devotion, the witness can be only you. Nobody else can be witness. You know, when we act, we have a genuine devotion to Buddha Dharma. If you are acting or if you are genuine, the only person can tell the difference is yourself, whether it's genuine or not. Other people cannot tell it. So that's why we always have to aware and mindful. When we don't have the devotion, genuine devotion, we should try to apply. When we have it, we should try to develop. We should prevent from reducing them, you know. At the end, what we want to do is recognize our true nature. True nature that we have with our mind from the beginningless time that we haven't recognized until now. The Guru, by the Guru's blessing, we wanted to see the true face, a true color, true nature of the reality, which is the Buddha nature, which already been in ourselves since beginningless time, will never be separate, but yet we never recognized, we never be able to use it. So once we recognize it, once we realize it, then we enlighten, we are Buddha. We are free from samsara. It's the same thing again in different form. Bless me that self-awareness may awaken in my heart. And also the awareness, we cannot apply it from anywhere else other than from ourselves, from our mind, from our heart. Because the wisdom is wisdom is a development of our mind is the wisdom, right? So that is the only way to awake our heart, our mind. If that happens, it's the next one. It says, "Bless me, cut through very root of delusion." Very root of delusion is the ignorant. Once we have ignorant, then it blocks everything. Block to see the right and wrong things. So for that, we have to have a self-arising wisdom to clear up, to clean up, to clear up, to see, to eliminate the confusion stage or delusion. If that happens, then we achieve enlightenment in one lifetime. Bless me, the rich Buddhahood in this very lifetime. So our ultimate aim is achieve enlightenment in this lifetime. So when we say achieve enlightenment this lifetime, it's not something we're talking about something that's impossible. It is possible. In the past, there are great masters, so many great masters achieve enlightenment in one lifetime. So Lord Buddha says, whether you will achieve enlightenment, it's not up to me, it's up to you. And how long it takes is also not up to me, it's up to you. For your diligence, for your devotion, if you have a more diligent, faster. If you have a more lazy, delusion, it's slower. So it always depends on the individual, so determination. So therefore, the next 4 lines is prayer to Guru. Doing Buddha Tradition, so and there's Lama Rinpoche, doing Buddha Tradition, Precious Guru, to you I pray. With the longing I call on you, gracious Dharma Lord. Wretched as I am, I have no hope but you. Bless me that wisdom and mind may mingle as one. So in this case, in this prayer doesn't necessarily mean that you're guru, that you receive a teaching, When you chant or recite this prayer, you can think all the gurus that you have received teaching, you have directly or indirectly connected with the Dharma practice, and then all those lineage masters from the Buddha till now, because there are so many masters in this, golden rosary of the lineage master. It's not Buddha taught the teaching and left somewhere and then somebody picked it up and taught to you. It's passed from one master to disciple, another master to disciple. It came through so many great masters. All those great masters equally important for us. So therefore, when we pray, we include all of them. They are not just ordinary teachers who have just knowledge, but they are great masters. They are great realized practitioners, bodhisattvas, arhats. So when we include all of them in embodiment of our present Guru, so you get the blessings of all those masters, not only one single person. But if you just pray to one single person, you will get a blessing of only one Guru or one master. So the reason why it always says Lama or Guru, we have a prayer saying that blessing of ordinary Guru. But whether you look at him or her as a Buddha or Bodhisattva or ordinary, the Guru himself doesn't matter. Doesn't change the way you look at your Guru. But it matters to you. If you wanted to receive blessing of Buddha, and you should look your Guru as a Buddha. If you wanted to look at receive a blessing of a Bodhisattva, and you should look at your Guru as a Bodhisattva. If you want to receive a blessing of ordinary master, and then you should look at your Guru as an ordinary master. So in Tibetan, in Vajrayana tradition, the Vajrayana practice, it's so much on practice, Guru Yoga, All these Vajrayana practices has to combine with the initiations, empowerment, and oral transmissions. They completely rely on the Guru, Guru and disciples connection. So that's why it's emphasized the devotion to the Guru so much. So that even makes some other traditions think that Tibetan Buddhism is only talking about lamas, Sometimes it seems like they are just promoting, themselves, how important they are. But the reality is not. So therefore, ordinary sentient being like myself have no other hope but you. So therefore, your mind, your wisdom mind, and my mind may become inseparable, So that's this. The last part is we chant many times. So and there's a Lama doing Buddha teaching coming there as a 3 limited verse in Jilo. So we will chant these 3 times together.
So je kamindala